Are you ready?
Yes.
Hello, welcome. This is Real Ramblings. I'm Tom.
Jack.
And as a couple, we are always watching and chatting about films. So we felt like what the world needed was another movie podcast.
Expect good chat, in-depth reviews, and when I say we will going in tangents, we'll be going into so many tangents you won't be able to keep up.
We're aiming to bring you 2 podcasts a month. But if that's not enough, we also have an Instagram account. Just follow Real Ramblings, where we post quick reviews of every single movie we watch, be it new and old. And there's a load of other stuff over there as well. So follow us on Real Ramblings Instagram.
Before we get started on the Bone Temple, we would share some of our top film, our favourite film, with you all, just so you get a little taste of how we, what our favourite films are, how different they are compared to each other, because I can guarantee Tom's is going to be very different to mine. I'm going to start off quite strong. My favourite film...
No, actually, I want to guess yours. I'm going to guess and you tell me if I'm right. I think Jack's favourite film of all time is 101 Dalmatians. No, 102 Dalmatians with Glenn Close.
Oh, I'm a sucker for a villain, and you don't get any finer than Glenn Close in that black and white wig, like that, with the shoulder pads getting up when she becomes evil. It's camp, it's dramatic, and no other film, apart from The Bone Temple, has come close to it.
So what do you think mine is? As soon as I guess yours, you can guess mine.
Cue a Danny Boyle film that I think, when I thought when I first watched it was going to be about people watching trains, but actually it was people injecting heroin to their veins, and the very beautiful Ewan McGregor. Am I right?
You are right. Can I just say we're not even 2 minutes into this podcast and we've already mentioned wine and drugs.
And Glenn Close's Cruella de Vil.
And Glenn Close's Cruella de Vil. I'm sorry for whatever we are putting into your ears right now. Anyway, I think it's time to get on with the episode. I think it's just worth revisiting 28 years later and reminding you all about what that was. It's obviously set 3 decades after that initial rage virus outbreak in 2002. UK still quarantine survivors on Holy Island, and there's also people scattered around the UK itself. Obviously, it follows Spike on this journey as and it's a really beautiful story, and really powerful. And honestly, I think Boyle and Garland, it's their masterpiece. I don't really have much more to say other than it is a beautiful masterpiece. And it's just a really intense, deeply human focus on what I suppose the effects of the rage virus was, especially when you consider just how intense 28 Days Later was. But yeah, that final scene with the Jimmies, it's something, all right. What did you think of it when you first saw it?
I had the exact same reaction to this film that I did with The Bone Temple. I knew I loved it, but it took me ages to process what I'd watched, because it is basically, I'm going to describe it as you're going on a roller coaster and you get whiplash and you get chucked upside down and you feel a bit sick and nauseous at times, but you're like, I want to go again. I loved it. It made me cry. It made me laugh. It's just, for the start of a new trilogy, it starts off so strong that I was like, right, I need the next film, and then the next film. And then, you know what? Let's have another trilogy and a whole other series afterwards. It was so good.
It's just beautiful. I mean, if you can see behind me, if you're watching this on YouTube, there is a 28 years later poster there. I went into this not really expecting to love it as much as I did. I thought, I've always loved 28 Days Later. It was the first Danny Boyle movie I ever watched in film studies. And that just set me off on that journey of just loving and admiring his movies. And then 28 Years Later comes out and it just completely blew everything out of the water. It's unexpected. It is intense. That relationship between Spike and his mom, Isla, it's absolutely excruciating. It's so, so sad, but also so lovely. I think it's just a really beautiful film, and Young Fathers are just stunning. But anyway, that is enough about 28 Years Later.
The Bone Temple makes that film like a Disney film.
I mean, you're not wrong there. Before we get into our review, though, I mean, for people that haven't seen it, The Bone Temple follows Spike as he reluctantly joins the brutal satanic cult, the Jimmies, headed up by the amazing Jack O'Connell, can I just say? We'll get into him a bit later. And in a way, I suppose it's their like mission to cleanse the world in the name of their father, Old Nick, is probably the best way to explain what they're doing. But what I love about this film, and running along concurrently with that storyline, you have Dr. Kelson from the first movie. And I was thinking about this, now we've seen it twice. It's a love story that we're watching. It's not it's not a love story just between him and Samson, but a love story with him and humanity. And it's a real good film, just looking at the like really gruesome film, really intense film. Look, I think intense is going to be a word we use a lot today in this podcast. Intense. But it's genuinely just about how people can be affected by something that happened so long ago and go in two completely different directions. What were your initial thoughts? Like, I think we had the same initial thoughts coming out of this. We were both just stunned.
There's a difference between me and you, is I am extremely weak-stomached and very squeamish. I don't deal with blood very well. I don't deal with gore very well. And this film, obviously, if you've watched 28 Years Later, you know, you see the infected, you see them ripping their heads off their victims, and you go, oh God, that's a bit graphic. But, oh my God, when you get into the bone temple, I felt so uncomfortable that I debated in my head. I thought, I know we're seeing this for a second time in a few days' time. Do I just nip to the bathroom really quickly during these scenes? But I was like, no, because I love this film. Like, I had such a strong reaction to it. It's like One Born Every Minute on steroids.
You were probably the only person, and this is such a Jack thing. I feel like if you continue listening to this podcast and look at over on our Instagram videos, Jack just comes out with the strangest shit, the oddest shit, but like it all absolutely makes sense if you actually think about it, because I completely get what you mean.
Some may say strange. I say it's poetic. I'm just a wordsmith.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
Let's go with that.
I mean, I turned to Jack as soon as we watched that film, and I said, I prefer it to 28 Years Later. And that's not to say that, in my mind, they are both 5-star films, but for very different reasons. What I loved about this one, though, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, into the review, it's a much simpler story, but so much more bold in what it's like trying to achieve, I suppose, in like, it's like, just in terms of like, I suppose in terms of the goriness of it, but also in its storytelling and the whole focus on the psychosis and everything. Like Jack said, we had no idea this was an 18 rated film. So when that when that 18 rating like appeared before the movie began, we both just looked at each other and just kind of like just intensely held onto our seats, being like, oh God, we're in for something. We're in for hell.
I think a bit of pee came out. Actually, when I saw the 18.
That's what that smell was.
Yeah, I was trying to disguise it with my Tesco meal deal drink, but no, I wet myself.
We will be talking about things that go on, so if you haven't seen the film, I really urge you to go and watch it, and then come back and listen and subscribe. But for me, where I want to start is, I mean, we've kind of already mentioned it. The tone of this film was so much funnier than the first. And the first was funny, but this was just outwardly funny. And I think it balanced it perfectly, and it needed it, because it's such a gruesome, horrific, uncomfortable film with all the satanic stuff that's going on in there, that it needed that humor, and it works. It's really, really funny.
The first scene of the film, which I only clocked when we watched it the second time, is it shows you a sign saying no children beyond this point. And I was like, it's so true. The last one was a 15, and it's compared to this is a Disney film. Whereas that sign, when you see it, instantly I'm like, right, this is a very different film. This is a film that knows what it wants to do, and it's so grown up that it's like, right, if you're a child, you're not welcome. You need to be an adult to watch this, because when I tell you the scenes in this film are so brutal, are so just stomach churning. Oh.
Before I say my next point, I just want to say, if you'll keep comparing this to a Disney film, can we say that Samson's officially a Disney princess?
Oh my God, he is definitely a Disney princess. Does that make Dr. Kelson a Disney prince then?
Oh yeah, I think so. Should we refashion 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple as a Disney film?
Princess Samson.
Yeah.
And Prince Kelson.
Let's go and remake 28 Years Later as an animated Disney film.
Spike is the little rabbit in Robin Hood, and Samson is Maid Marian or the lady in waiting. I'm waiting.
I love the idea of Samson as Maid Marian with this massive just
Big
flopping around
slong.
everywhere.
Oh my God.
But like the film itself there's this thing I listened to a podcast earlier and it put it perfectly. It's slow
You listen
burning.
to another podcast?
I know. Sorry, I didn't just listen to our videos.
Red flag.
It's slow burning all the way throughout. There's this feeling of slow burning dread just building, and it chooses to do that over jump scares. And 28 years later, didn't do jump scares again. There were jump scares, but it was very much horror in just a very different, shocking way. Whereas this goes for, instead of jump scares, which again there are a few of, there's just that slow burning feeling of dread all the way through. All because of the Jimmies, but
Yeah.
it's such a brilliant tonal difference, and right from the off as well with the Jimmies, but then also instantly with the stuff with Samson and Dr. Kelson. It's such a polar, just complete juxtaposition to where we ended the film and everything that 28 years later did. But it felt natural; it didn't feel weird. But what I love about this film, the whole 28 days, 28 weeks, and 28 years, there is tons and tons of zombie on human action, and that's scary. It is genuinely scary seeing that. What makes this film, I think, stand out for me in terms of just what it managed to achieve, there was still zombie on human action, but there was human on infected, whatever. There was human on human brutality. Yeah. And that was so much more harder to watch. And that's the scene that Jack is on about when he was like, I need to walk out. But I think that's what just makes this film elevated a bit more for me, because it's not just what you expect. It takes it in a different way, and the infected are still there. They're still in the shadows, and they're not. Rage isn't the whole thing anymore. The rage of the infected isn't the main focus. The rage it's how we become. It's the aftermath and how we become rageful, I suppose. But I loved the human on human stuff. Yeah. I didn't love it. That makes me sound awful. I'm not a Satanist.
I was going to say that you sound a bit like a satanic strange man.
I just think it added in really just.
It did.
It made this film stand out for me.
Well, what I found the most chilling part of this film in particular, actually, is the use of childhood nostalgia weaponized.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with the Teletubbies. I, at the age of 2, stole a pole from an early learning centre.
My boyfriend is a thief.
I'm a thief. Sorry, if you want to arrest me now, it's too late. I'm 29. It was years ago. Move on. But what I found really chilling and quite unnerving about it, obviously, was seeing the brutal scenes and stuff. But it's like innocence, like the Teletubbies being weaponized into, Jimmy getting his Jimmies to do the la-la or dipsy dance. And I was like, that's so creepy. And then using that kind of childhood innocence and then completely spinning it to use as something really dark and sinister.
It's really interesting. And just going back to 28 years later, the end of that film obviously ends with the Jimmies, and it's a complete tonal shift at the end of that film from just in them last 5 minutes. And I've had so many, because I talk about 28 years later all the time, and so many people watch it and they message me and be like, what the hell was that ending? And I say to them, I was like, it's meant to do that. It's meant to be a complete tonal shift, because it's meant to make you feel, well, first of all, think, what the fuck? But also it's meant to make you uncomfortable and make you question what the hell is going on, because that for me is what 28 years is all about. It's asking the audience to be like, look at yourself and question everything. It's generally a really good film.
I'm going to hold my hands up and confess that the Jimmy thing at the end of 28 years later went right over my head. All I was focused on was, where are they getting their hair bleached from? Like, if anything, it's an apocalyptic UK. At least they're still getting their bleach.
We've mentioned him already, but Rafe Fiennes as Kelson.
Oh my God.
This role, I've grown up with Rafe Fiennes as an actor. Looking back, I generally have. He was, obviously, Harry Potter was big when we were kids. He was Voldemort which he was amazing at. He was in Conclave. He was M in Bond. He's on so many other films.
The Menu.
But to me, the Menu again.
Yeah.
And for me, it feels like, even though he's always been there, I'm going to really compare him weirdly now, but it's like Hugh Grant's Renaissance, where you're just picking any random thing and just running with it and having fun. That's what this feels like, because this is such a different kind of character. He's so warm, full of humanity, and but also so funny. He's where the humor comes from for me, and I just love how grounded he is. And he's the opposite to Jimmy, to Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, and that love story, because that's what it is essentially. It's a love story between Samson and this man, but also this man and his love for humanity, which is a complete juxtaposition to Jimmy.
Beautiful.
I love that they played off these two stories, which are so... Yeah. It's the same story, but told in different ways, and they come together in this amazing scene, which we're going to talk about later.
Yeah. You've got, Dr. Kelson, obviously an uninfected human who's gone through the infection era. That could have made him into a horrible, disgusting human being. You see it in his little room. He's got photos of his family. And that could have completely twisted his mind, but instead... he's using his medical knowledge to help an infected patient and just have a bit of companionship, because he's a lonely individual. When he saw Spike, all he wanted to do was show him the bone temple and everything he'd worked on. And you could see it in his performance. He was like, I've not spoken to a human in such a long time. And then you have Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, who, again, doesn't use surviving the infection as a positive. He uses it to punish those around him for his own gain. And it is such a good, you could have, so many films have got, the good guy and the bad guy, and the good guy is and he helps people, and the bad guy wants to kill people. It's a cliche. And this film could have gone down that cliche of, oh, well, he's an obvious good guy and he's an obvious bad guy, but it's done in such a powerful way. The scene where Jimmy and Dr. Kelson meet and have that conversation about... Jimmy opens up about his dad and talks about the fact that, he talks about the infection like some people talk about COVID. You have the anti-vaxxers and the ones that got their vaccinations, and he speaks about the infection like, oh, they're not zombies. It's just it's a sign from the devil to shake humanity. And then you've got Kelson being like, okay, respecting his views.
It makes you wonder, that conversation that Kelson has with Jimmy, is that the first time that Jimmy's had an actual conversation as a human one-to-one? Because he's always been surrounded by these people and these thoughts ever since we first met him in this opening 28 years later. But it's like Kelson is, like you say, he chooses beauty, memory, and remembering and humanity, whereas Jimmy he's the polar opposite, embraces brutality and exploitation and the satanic life. But despite despite these differences, both characters are, I suppose, that they've both got hope in some way or another, just different type of hope. One character we need to obviously talk about is Spike. Spike is, I think, probably the only character in this film series that we've met so far. That has grown up entirely post Rage, so he doesn't have that nostalgia for times gone by, because, like you said, these are films about nostalgia for times gone by. This time for when you want to be a kid, for simpler times when it wasn't so dark and dangerous. Brutal. And in a way, and in a way, the best way I can describe it is how everyone keeps looking back to 2016 for some reason. It gives me the same thing. Everyone is looking back to 2016, and that to me is just Kelson and all these other characters looking back to pre-2002. But yeah, I love Spike in this.
Alfie Williams is genuinely going to be such a big name. He is already a big name now. He's just started, and he steals every scene that he's in. Even when he's not saying anything, he just looks so terrified. He is reacting to absolutely everything around him. And it's so grounded in reality, because I'm like, I don't know how I would react if I've seen the things that he's seen or went through the things that he went through. But the way Alfie portrays it is just so captivating that I just can't wait to see him do more in the next film, and then
Yeah.
whatever he does afterwards. And
Yeah.
honestly, for a child, like for an actor of his age, absolutely insane.
He's got a really beautiful, nuanced way, I think, about how he just acts. It's just so believable and really intimate. But like one thing I do want to mention, kind of about Jimmy, but also all the other Jimmies, is I actually felt sorry for them, because even though they were in this satanic world, they'd gone one way, Kelson had gone another. I still felt sorry for them, because a recurring thing in this is that just deeply human instinct to, I suppose, just want to strive for something. They're all striving for something. It's just one's gone down this dark path, and I generally did feel sorry for them, especially when I think it's allowed, because, for instance, Jimmy in his final scene when he's just asking for his dad, I can't think of her name. I think it's Jemima. When that thing goes into the back of her head, and it's like a light, it's like a switch has just gone, and all of a sudden she's just asking, was that her dog or a cat? And I'm like, their minds have been so clouded by it. I think someone put it perfectly, that it's like a form of it's like a look at psychosis and altered mental states, and how people can be affected from, like, for instance, many people, the world changed after COVID, for instance. The world changed after the 2002 rage virus. It's the same thing, and people have taken that joint shared experience and gone their own way, regardless of whether it's the right way or the wrong way. And it's just so well done.
I seen it. So the second time we watched this film, because I was really watching the Jimmies this time, being like, right, I just want to see how they react, because obviously you have the main Jimmy in the group, obviously apart from Lord Jimmy Crystal, is Jimmy Inc., and she's incredible. And I was like, right, I want to watch all the other ones react. And it got me thinking during the scene in the barn, is when they offer the guy, look, if you fight, choose one of the Jimmies to fight, and if you win, you take their place. And I was like, how many of the Jimmies have had to be in that similar position where they've seen their families being tortured in the most disgusting ways possible, and they've been chosen, right, you fight or you get charity. And I think that Jimmy Inc., I believe she was a victim of witnessing charity, and she was chosen to fight, and then she's become part of the group, because I'm like, if their minds have been so messed up with what they've witnessed, and then they've had to then fight, they've won, and they've had to walk away from their families in the most brutalist ways, that would completely mess up your brain.
Yeah.
And I was like, how many of these Jimmies were chosen, were part of the Jimmies by choice, and how many were forced to become a Jimmy or face the same wrath as their families?
It's that thing that I think also relates back to real world situations. Vulnerable people are easy targets, and all these people were vulnerable people, I assume. Like, they were on their own, their families have died, they were vulnerable, and then this man comes along, Jimmy comes along, and he just shows them a path that to them at that moment in time where they're at the most vulnerable, their lowest, seems so amazing to them, because, for instance, they're going to have a family again, they'll have people, and so they've been brainwashed to believe that what they're doing is for the greater good. And I think, again, going back to just how much I love this film, I think that is why I have such a love for this film, and why I do generally think I prefer it to the first one. And it's because it feels so not relatable. I'm not in a satanic cult, don't worry.
I should hope not.
It feels relatable to the real world and the world we're living in right now. It feels so contemporary to now.
So contemporary. But you've got so many different, political parties spouting out their venom and propaganda of, we don't trust this lot. We can give you this bright future. And it's not built on anything but just false promises. And that's what the Jimmies represent. The promise of, we're in a horrible world, but we can show you a better way. Actually, it's not. It's just the most vile form of humanity you can even imagine. And that's when I'm like, that's relatable, because I've seen people speak to me like this as if they're offering me a silver lining, or the answer to everything, but actually it just leads you down to even more misery.
It's so powerful.
Oh,
And I think it's just proof of how Alex Garland just feels he's written these. He's obviously written all three films, but the third
mm.
is on his way. It needs to be here now.
Mm.
I've read something actually today. Apparently, it's definitely on its way next year.
Oh, thank
So
God.
I'm hoping for a summer blockbuster next year, like the last one.
Mm.
But I think it's so obvious watching, especially the last film and especially this film. It's so obvious he has a clear vision in the story he wants to tell, and it's so obvious where the inspirations come from. And it
Yeah.
feels and the writing for this one is the writing is already so different that I assumed that it made it easier for Nia DaCosta when she came on to not just have to do a Danny Boyle part two.
Yeah.
She really owned this film, still making it a 28 years film, but
Mm.
visually it just felt visually, tonally, and the music and it just felt so just different to what I was
So
expecting and
different.
to what came before, which I'm really happy about because it's so easy with these trilogies where the second film might feel like the first film or a
Mm.
rehash, whereas these can't be too. These are so far apart, really, in the stories they're telling and also tone that I think them two just clearly had a great vision with what they wanted to do with this film.
And we've never had a 28 years, days, weeks film follow
Mm.
on with the same cast. Because obviously you have 28 days later, and then that's followed by 28 weeks later with a complete different cast, very
Mm.
different story. Whereas with this one, you have 28 years later, and then it's followed by the Bone Temple with the same cast, same setting. And like you said, I was worried that, well, not worried, but I was like, how are they gonna not flesh it out? Because I had faith in the writer to create a great film, but also like, how are they gonna give each character their room to shine? And
Yeah.
oh my God, did they get time to shine? You know, Spike's role in the film isn't as, it's not as big as the 20 years later film, because obviously that is setting up his character. You get to know him and, you know, his mother, his dad, and the world that he lives in. This film obviously is about him exploring the world outside of his tiny little
Mm.
island, and his eyes are opened, but as he's experiencing it, that's what we're experiencing as the audience. And I was like, okay, this is actually really fucking good.
In some ways, actually, just you saying that there, it's like when you're a kid and you're 16 and you're about to be let out, and for 16 years you've been sheltered, you've only believed one thing, and then all of a sudden, because I imagine he's around 14, 13 in the film, so he's at that age where he's about to be let out to that world, and he's experiencing it. That is what this film's about. It's him experiencing that and seeing that it's not all good out there.
No.
There are people that are horrible and will take advantage of you and make you join a satanic cult when your mom's when you've just put your mom's skull on top of a mountain of skulls. Like,
Because we've all been there.
oh yeah, yeah.
It's just a typical
Yeah.
Wednesday for me. Bye,
anyone
Mum.
li-
Off to join the Jimmies.
For anyone listening, we haven't. We have both got our moms. They are not. Their skulls are not on the top of a mountain.
No,
Sorry, mom, if you're listening to this.
Mum, you're not a skull. And I've not joined the satanic cult skinning people, which is not anything I want to ever do, and I'm
Can I
not
just-
condoning that behaviour.
I mean, we've already mentioned it, but one of the greatest things about this, and I think Nia DaCosta managed to direct it so brilliantly, it felt
Yeah.
so seamlessly. But Alex Garland, the way he wrote the two narratives of Jimmy and Kelson and the hatred and the satanic cult story with the love story, because we haven't really touched on it, but the love story was so beautiful in this. We've touched so much
So
on that
beautiful.
the Satan and that cult.
Yeah.
But like the stuff between Samson and Kelson was not where I expected this film to go. I don't know where I
Absolutely not.
expected the infected story to go in these films. Maybe I did, but maybe not so soon. I definitely didn't expect them to do it in this way, where
With Duran
it was
Duran.
just with Duran Duran, which felt so believable for Kelson's character. He is a Duran Duran film.
He's a Duran fan.
I've had Ordinary World just on repeat since I've watched this film. I am a Duran Duran
I can
fan
vouch
now.
for that.
But what I think is great is just the relationship between the two, and it's so obvious off screen as well, but on screen, just the dancing and the love that them two characters develop for one another. It's beautiful.
I turned to you when, well, it was literally after you saying you preferred this one to 20 years later. I said, the scenes with Kelson and Samson dancing would make an absolutely beautiful John Lewis Christmas advert. Because, oh my God, it's there in the paper. These two people, very different. One reaches out the hand of friendship. gives him a little injection to, help his infection and his rage, and then they start dancing to Duran Duran. It's honestly, it made me cry. And it's so silly because actually, on paper, if someone told me you're going to watch Dr. Kelson dance with an infected patient to Duran Duran, I'd be like, what are you smoking? Are you okay? But it works. It so works. And it shouldn't work because it's so ridiculous.
What did you think of what they did with the infected, specifically with Samson in this film? What did you think of it?
I loved it. We've seen 28 days, weeks, years with the infected. We know what they are. We know how they operate, how they infect the patients, blah, 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 blah. Whereas this film, I've always wondered, what is the world like through their eyes?
Yeah.
And straight from the get-go, you see Samson's point of view, and anyone that's not infected looks like they're on the attack to them, and that's why they go for them. You could have just gone down the route of, let's show the infected, they're the bad guys. But actually, this whole film sheds a complete sympathetic light on them. Because at the end of the day, they are just like me and you. Imagine if we were infected, that'd be funny. But like, Samson, from the last film, is like the main infected character. So to see, and obviously we know with Dr. Kelson that he wants to help people. So that's such a natural, and I never saw it coming, but it's such a natural fit that you've got these two people who, one of which wants to just help the other out, and that's what they do, and they form this so beautiful friendship. And it's just so unexpected. And I think if you'd watched 28 Days Later and you said, oh, Cillian Murphy's going to become friends with an infected, you'd be like, that's a comedy. But it just works in this film.
It does.
It's just,
it really does. And I think what's really well, I think I mentioned it earlier, the fact that this is all, it focuses so much on altered mental states and psychosis and stuff. But definitely in the fact that you have, like the fact you see what the infected see early on in the film, you can see their side of things and what they see us looking at. Looking like, but then also you explore the altered mental states through how these two people, Kelson and Jimmy, have gone on different journeys. But then right at the end, when Jimmy has been nailed to that cross, and all he sees is the devil, and no longer does Samson have that clouded mind, but it's kind of gone to him in a way, to Jimmy, and I think it's just done so well the way that everything moves and how each character experiences similar things at different times and in different ways. We're never going to be infected like,
I hope not,
like Samson, I hope. But it's that thing of being so angry, so damaged by something. That's what I see the infected as. And I generally feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for everyone in this film.
I feel so sorry, apart from the Jimmies.
No, I feel sorry for the Jimmies as well.
Oh no! There's a line in the sand when you start skinning people that
I said to
you've
you
gone
earlier,
too far.
Okay, yeah, they go too far, and I don't condone what they did, but I do feel sorry for them in the fact that they clearly think what they're doing is right, and in some ways they've been groomed by Jimmy to believe that.
Yeah,
I think it generally is really powerful. It's something I keep saying, but I mean, one thing I want to come to as we near the end is just the score and how different it is to 28 years. 28 years with Young Fathers is so, like, it keeps moving. It's so energetic. It's such the way that film's edited is so energetic and keeps moving, like a Danny Boyle film. They're all like that. Whereas this one, it's so much more quieter, but I find it more unsettling.
So when I watched it the second time round, because I obviously was very apprehensive the fact that it was an 18, and I was like, oh god, there's going to be a scene that's going to make me feel sick. I didn't really focus on the score, which was annoying, because I was like, oh, I love the composer. She wrote, she did Joker 2, she did Chernobyl. You've not seen it, you'd love it. Oh god, what was that? My phone dropped. It's fine. But listening to it, there's a constant ticking throughout it, and it's like, it's a ticking time bomb. You're ticking until the main showdown at the end. Because throughout, I'm like, it's obviously leading somewhere. It's a film. If it didn't lead anywhere, that'd be rubbish. But the score just ticks and ticks and ticks and ticks. And I was like, oh my god, this is leading something massive. And like you said, Young Fathers, which has become one of my favourite artists ever.
Same.
It's very bombastic. It's quite pop rock. It's quite indie. It's just so good. Whereas this they could have easily just got a similar sounding band or a similar sounding soundtrack for it, but they went down a route of just very intimate, and you can hear like the wooden instruments. You can hear at times with the soundtrack. I listened to it today when I was on the train getting my haircut. You can hear people like breathing, and I'm like, it's such an unsettling soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like,
do you know what? I listened to soundtrack in Edith Bowman podcast, which is amazing. For anyone that likes to listen to soundtracks and likes to just have a different look at behind the scenes, it's really good. Would listen to it. But Nia DaCosta was on it, and she was mentioning the fact that Hilda, I can't think of her surname, but the composer for this film, she actually got plastic bones or something, and so she was using bones, not real bones, but she was using bones to do some of the music. And I just love it when composers bring the actual
details.
Film into the music, because it just makes it feel more real and more rooted in what it's doing. I mean, we mentioned it earlier, but alongside the really unsettling soundtrack, you have Duran Duran, you have Radiohead, and it fitted the character of Kelson so well, because them songs were used for him. They are what he listens to, and I love the fact they chose to do needle drops, because needle drops can sometimes be cheap and take you out of the film. But I really believed that character liked Radiohead and that he would have been at one of them. I think what we need to talk about is just standout scenes. Give me your standout scene.
Oh, there's so many. I mean, there's obviously Samson dancing with Dr. Kelson, which is beautiful. But the scene that, for me, really stands out is when Jimmy is nailed to the cross. And throughout this film, like I mentioned before about childhood nostalgia being weaponized, all of these characters are just so broken from what they've experienced, which I get why you feel sympathy for the Jimmies, because actually it's quite sad. Sorry, Jimmies, but not sorry, you skin people. But the fact that literally, like we mentioned before, every character in the Jimmies reverts to being a child.
Yeah.
They all, once they've lost... Lord Jimmy Crystal is guided by just wanting to be with his dad again and making sense of the world that's gone around him, so in doing so creates absolute chaos around him. But in his final moments, he just asks for his mum. Yeah. And obviously with the whole and with the whole Spike losing his mum and 28 years later, it then does a full circle moment where Jimmy is just crying out for his mum. And in that moment, I'm like, you're no longer a 30-plus adult. You are literally that 8-year-old boy that went for the most brutal, life-changing experience, and you were damaged by it. And
it's
that,
quite crazy,
for me, really moved me.
It's quite crazy when you look back on the 28 days later, you have Brendan Gleeson's character. He's the father figure, and it's all about, you got the fatherhood story there. In 28 weeks later, again, you had the fatherhood story there. In 28 years later, you have the fatherhood story there, but also motherhood. It's all about parenthood. And again, in this one, they all explore parenthood, fatherhood, motherhood, and what it means to be that relationship between parent and child. It explores it in every single film, but in different ways. For me, though, my favourite scene, and I've been waiting to just briefly talk about this, but it's that scene where Kelson is literally dancing as the devil. I think it's that when that came out, I just was sat there with a grin on my face for the entire sequence. It was amazing. Again, this is going back to what I said earlier. Ray Fiennes is having so much fun here, and it was funny. I was scared. I was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it was just such a great culmination of where we've got to. They've finally met old Nick. Kelson is having to do something that he's totally uncomfortable doing. I think it's a great culmination of both stories finally coming together and merging. But yeah, that scene where he's just dancing around and being the devil himself.
I think Kelson was having a fabulous time.
Oh yeah, watching that on the big screen, I'm 2026, no scene will beat that. I can hands down guarantee that is my favorite scene of the year, and it will be at the end of the year. Where do you think the final film is going to go? I mean, obviously we've had a hint at it with Cillian Murphy's return, which the moment I saw that island, the moment I saw that house, I knew exactly where we were going. And even his speech is what he says about history repeating itself and people forgetting. These films are so in your face with what they're trying to tell you. And I think they're proof of what 28 years later, like Sinners, and again, a great film. But these two films are just proof of what happens when studios just let writers and directors just tell the story that they want to tell, because this is so powerful. And I'm very excited to see Cillian Murphy return. When they played In the House and the Heartbeat, goosebumps everywhere.
To answer your question of where I think the third film might go, is I actually have no idea after watching that film, because I thought I had an idea of where that film was going to go. The first film was all about trying to remember what normality was like, the new normal. What Nick? And then obviously the second film is all about beliefs, humanity, just the good and bad of what we're all capable of. The third film, I've heard whispers that it's like a redemption story.
Yeah.
I can see it being, especially when you've got the character of Samson still schlonging around there. He's going to be part of it. And you, as an audience, you've seen the fact that the infected can be not even redeemed, because that sounds like they are the issue. They're not. It was a monkey that got let out by a cage by a group of activists. But I honestly can't tell you what I think the third film is going to be, because I just don't know. That's so exciting.
That's what I find exciting, is I don't know what to expect, and I know I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. I mean, I'm very excited to have my favorite director, Danny Boyle, back. Where's Selena? And then obviously we've got Cillian back. We've got Spike's story. We've got Samson's story. We've got the whole of the infected. We've also got Spike's family. There's so much stuff to
We've
wrap
got Baby
up.
Isla.
Yeah, there's so much stuff to wrap up. It's so exciting. And I, for one, cannot wait. But that's it. That's the end of our podcast. That's the end of episode 1, Jack. We hope you enjoyed that and want to listen to more. Obviously, we'll be hoping to do at least 2 episodes a month over on Spotify and as a main full podcast episode. But if you want to listen to more of our reviews and see every single film that we go and see, head on over to our Instagram, Real Ramblings, where we share all of our film thoughts and loads of other things as well.
And those videos are quite something.
They are chaotic. But honestly, it's been great.
We shall see you with another film very soon.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.